Greetings. How's everyone doing today? So I went back and forth about what to share today, and I decided that I'm doing the video on, my perspective on a man of honor, specifically, man of God, man of Christ, um, and what that means, and how I think that if we as men can do better and control ourselves, then perhaps in turn we can heal kind of some of the stuff that's going on. Maybe it's just a product of the times. Maybe it's the internet. I mean, I don't know. All I know is I could see it in my mind's eye, in my imagination. And, it's just something that I talk about when I discuss my ideas, theories, perspectives with people. I don't know that any of this would work. It's just something I felt compelled to share. So, I see a lot of talk on the internet and in life about, women being promiscuous and wearing all this makeup and showing, their skin everywhere and butt cheeks hanging out and just all this, what we would have really looked down upon a few generations ago and been like flabbergasted by. And, I think that a lot of that is the product of, in some ways, oppression, the way women were treated. Also, though, of course, we know that certain entities sold a certain mentality through propaganda, maybe. And I've had this discussion with people about, do we blame the perpetrators of propaganda, or do we blame ourselves and take accountability and responsibility for falling for it? So, that's a great notion, great debate to have maybe sometime. For me, it's like this. So women are, out there, there's divorces are higher than ever. Women initiate them, and, we're blaming women. And I was into that for a little bit. And then it occurred to me that if men are supposed to be the leaders, this is my perspective, the leaders, the protectors, the providers, be stoic, kind of stay centered and grounded, be the rock. If the woman is the water and the man is the rock, they're flowing and emotional and live in feelings, and we are to be their companion, the polarity, let's say opposite, for lack of a better term, of that. So, when we were out there messing around while our wife was at home, cooking, cleaning, and taking care of the kids, and we were not giving credit where credit was due, and we were cheating and maybe beating and doing a lot of weird stuff that was going on. They had enough and they wanted equal rights and they wanted to be able to take care of themselves. And lo and behold, now we have a lot of broken families, a lot of kids growing up in single parent households, going back and forth to Christmases, to this, to that. And, a lot of us, like for me, grew up just like lost, confused, tossed around, and really didn't feel like I came from a steady, stable situation. And so I always said when I had a kid, I'm going to do my absolute best to, stay with my child's mother and make it work and do everything I can. And I did, in my opinion, do that. And it was almost like the nicer I got and the better I got, the more she pulled away and met someone. And however it all happened is not the point. The point is I see that, on one hand, a lot, women will complain about chivalry being dead, and, then men will be like, yeah, well, women killed it. And it's like the nice guy finishes last. And I don't know that all that is true. I do know that if more men can step up and control their sexual urges and nature, not pay women for their company, not pay OnlyFans, not pay for pornography, not pay for prostitutes, not pay for dinners and all this stuff, and women's kids with other men. And I don't have all the answers. I barely have any answers. So again, this is just a philosophy, a theory, an idea that I felt compelled to share. It occurred to me that if men really started to control themselves and be the leaders and lead by example, maybe that might compel women to say, well, wow, this is getting rough out here. I'm lonely too, or I'm lonely, or what, and maybe I don't need to shake my butt on a bar or have my everything hanging out or put on all this makeup. If men would stop, sleeping with women who have been married twice, divorced twice, they initiated it. Maybe it wasn't that, these days I know a lot of men that got left and they didn't cheat, they didn't beat, they didn't do drugs, they didn't drink alcohol. They didn't chill with the boys. They like, really were there. I can say that for myself. I really put my family first. And as men, that is, I think, very important. God first, then family, then self, maybe. There's the country thing, of course, protecting our land. And I am with that. Again, that's part of family, part of community. And it seems like there was a movement to break up the family, lock up the husband, give incentive to the woman to leave. They can take your money and your kids. And, so it's like almost like it's all set up for it to not work out. And it's like, if we can do better and, women can start stepping up again and realizing how significant it is to be a mom, to bring children into this place, to continue humanity and know that there's no more valuable purpose after serving God than to serve your family, to serve your children. And the husband needs to be out there hunting, fishing, getting the food, whether it's money or whatever, doing his absolute best to provide, and in turn, then the woman ideally adores him and does her best to help keep everything together. Like, we used to look at our grandmothers as like, who kept the family together. Like for me, it was my great grandmother. That was like our matriarch, and she was a good woman, humble, modest, didn't wear a lot of makeup, didn't drink, went to church, really put her family first. And if men aren't doing that and they're out there messing around, then it can start to create animosity and envy. And maybe back in the day, it was more accepted that men did that. Obviously, I don't think that it was, though, because these same great grandmothers were like in their daughters' ears, like, make sure you get a career, make sure you get a job, don't get stuck like me. And I think that there's some way, some middle ground, that if we can all just like realize life's not about us and it's about the family, about God, about, procreation and continuing humanity and bringing forth life in a way that they feel secure, these children, and loved and cared for and, put first, maybe. I think that things could really change, really turn around. And I see it a little bit already happening. Also I've noticed like a lot of older women are going after younger men, and it's like, they can't get men, or maybe they can, but they can't get, it seems like maybe the reason is, they've started being more masculine. So they're just like getting laid and having orgasms. And so they go after an easy target of a young man who's, hasn't mastered himself, hasn't learned self-control. And so as we as men continue to do this, hopefully we're showing our sons, hey, have self-control, sleep with one person, sex is sacred. You're doing it for procreation, for a family. I'm not saying it's not pleasurable, I'm not saying it's not fun. I'm saying if we can learn to control ourselves, again, idealistic thinking, I realize that. However, I am someone who was hypersexual most of my life, and this came to me through experience of like, wow, well, imagine if we could just stay with that person and wait and have sex when we were married and had children, and then if they decided to leave, they weren't getting any money and they weren't able to take the kids. The kid, ended up having to be with whichever parent didn't leave, maybe. Again, no cheating, no beating, no abuse of any, that kind of stuff. Then I think that, if more men can say no to single moms, maybe they're not going to be so quick to say, well, I'm leaving this situation, because maybe there's not going to be men out there that are going to date you, and it's, again, I see that already happening. And I'm not saying this to be harsh to anybody. I just think we could all do a lot better and really stop being so narcissistic, stop being so materialistic, stop being so selfish. Back in the day, you can have a quarter in your pocket and get a girl to go on a date with you. It was a walk in the park. It was a walk in the woods, a walk wherever, hanging out, getting to know one another, maybe having some coffee. Now it's like, if you don't go to a 5-star restaurant, and I'm not saying in all cases, but I'm at the point where like, I'm not paying for anything. I just went through a marriage that I paid for everything. She did not have to get a job, and she still complained about that. So I'm just over it. Like, I'm at the point now where I want a woman who's going to value me for who I am, for the conversations we have, for the fact that I'm willing to be a companion that's loyal and honest and trustworthy and care for her, and she in turn cares for me. And I'm just, yeah, it's like, if my time isn't looked at as the most valuable thing and she's not of that mentality, then, I'm over it. And I don't want much more from a woman at this point than her companionship, her time. Of course, we're going to want sex, and that's all great. However, I think it needs to be responsible. I'm not for recreational sex. I'm not for non-monogamous situations. Imagine also if we were monogamous, STDs go away, broken homes, kids with, we don't know who the father is, and all this stuff that we're dealing with goes away. Like, would we need abortions? Would it matter if abortions were allowed or not? If, we got to a place where we stopped abusing sex like a drug? Something to think about. I don't know that we've ever, some people have made it there. The general population, like it says right in the Bible, the gate is wide to destruction. The path to Christ, to heaven, is straight and narrow. However, I do feel that something's happening, a little bit of change I've seen. And I just really feel that as men, we are supposed to be the stronger one, the leader. And if we can lead by example and stop abusing sex and stop cheating and stop acting like maniacs and really be calm and stoic and be a real man who, doesn't get in their feelings, doesn't get in their emotions, focuses on what needs to happen, and women in turn can then start to submit to that, maybe they're not going to be so quick to end that. And because they're not going to be able to just run to the next guy, and the grass is greener over here. And, it's like, I call our generation the microwave generation, the throwaway generation, the disposable generation. It seems so common so often that it's just, yeah, I didn't like that one little thing and I'm over it. Or I met this other guy and it's new and fun, and so I'm over it. And for me, it's like, the more we're running, we're just running from ourselves. And if the truth is we're all one and we're all God at the heart of it, then does the external even really matter? Which is what I've been talking about a lot lately. So if it's like not working with one person and you run to the next, aren't you the common factor? And so if I'm God and you're God and he's God and she's God, then you went to this next guy and you're still going to be, that's still going to be a reflection of you and me. And so then couldn't you have made it work with whoever you were with, whoever you had children with? To me, that's like the ultimate. Once you have kids with somebody, it used to be that the bond was, you lost your virginity to each other. That was it, no looking back, at least tribally, maybe. And I really, that vibes with my heart, that vibes with my mind. It makes a lot of sense to me. I think a lot of us probably look back and say, man, why did I abuse sex? And that one first love that you lost your virginity to and you paired with. I think that, if we can get back to that idea and teach our children how sacred and serious sex is and what it leads to and what that means, and we can do better raising men and raising women. I think that we can really turn our communities around, and therefore in turn really turn around what's going on in the world right now. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. It seems like it's wild out here with all this people wearing or not wearing almost anything, and I just think a lot of people are getting sick of it. I think that a lot of people are feeling very lonely, men and women, and it's because it's not coming from inside, and we keep jumping ship to the next thing, and we're not like our great grandparents and former generations that really just like, nope, you make that commitment, you make it work, you that's it. And because because we've gotten into this new way of throw away everything and divorce over and over and have that even be an option, things have gotten really crazy, really wild, and I hear more and more stories on a daily basis of this stuff. And if you found a good one, do your best to make it work. If you had kids with somebody, do your best to make it work. Like, I have a hard time with the idea of, even as a single dad, dating a single mom. I don't want to deal with the father. I don't want to deal with this Brady Bunch scenario. I don't want to deal with your kids. Don't my kids. And so if it doesn't work out, my kid's heartbroken, your kids are heartbroken, it just gets crazy. Or you're not my dad, or any of that stuff. Like, I don't think that's healthy. I don't, it's one of the reasons why I don't love the idea of being a single dad. And like, there's rules over here that are different than the rules with me, and I get to do this, this, and this. Like, well, I don't know what to tell you. And then there just becomes this fighting and this craziness and this confusion for the children, and I think that's really selfish and unhealthy. This isn't to judge anybody. Again, just a thought, just a perspective, just something that I've written about, where I really think that men, if we can do better, because I'm a man, so I'm doing my best to take accountability and responsibility. Do I think women can do much better? Yes. I have this theory, this idea that if, as men, we start doing better, start controlling ourselves, and stop giving it up so easily and being so easily controlled by the almighty sexual, by the woman, then, we really could create some change here, where they have to go deeper. They have to offer something more substance. They have to be softer again, more humble, more modest, more, I personally don't want a woman that flaunts her thing, wants attention from everybody. Like, to me, those are all red flags. I want my lady's opinion. I want to hear what she has to say. That's why I'm with her, right? I love her mind. I love her spirit. Not saying I just, when we're out, when we're doing things, I don't know why you need to be hanging out and, meaning your body, and, attracting that kind of attention, fishing, essentially. That's for me. That's for my eyes, just like I am for you. And if we can just like really get back to being men and women of God, I don't see how we can go wrong. So, this was a little bit longer than I intended. I've been pretty good about keeping things kind of short. I would like to get them even shorter. I hope I got through to somebody and made my point. And again, I'm not saying I'm right or wrong. It's just a perspective, just a theory. And I do think either way, though, that we could all do better. We could all be more selfless, more kind, more compassionate, more authentic, and I know that everybody's built a little different, wired a little different. So if you feel called otherwise, like, that's your business. I do believe that we can get to self-control. I do believe we can stop abusing sex like a drug. I do think that those are all possible things. And I think that if we do that, possible goals, possible outcomes, I think if we can achieve that, again, we can really, get back to family and get back to communities and really, start getting along a little better again. Either way, stay kind, stay calm, go slow, love yourself, love your neighbor, serve God, serve Christ, and have a wonderful day.